for her master's degree in visa. So I would like to invite Windyn to give a presentation. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Yanti. I just want to thank you guys for hosting me. I really appreciate it. Be part of the Indonesian reading group. It's an honor to present about my master's thesis. So, all right, I'm going to begin. So when I lived in, I'm sorry my back is to you, is that okay?
No problem,
Okay.
don't worry about it.
When I lived in Indonesia in 2007, I found myself in Java. I had just returned from a trip to eastern Indonesia, to the island of Flores and Nusa Tenggara, and a colleague of mine in central Java commented on the way that I was shaving a carrot. I was drawing the knife toward me instead of away from me. I brought a carrot. So I was just shaving it, like drawing it toward me instead of cutting away. And he asked if I had been to Flores by the way that I was cutting a carrot. And I thought, wow, I can't believe that he was able to recognize where I had been just on that simple preparation technique. And so I decided for my master's thesis that I wanted to look more into this. And it is that experience that inspired me to ask the question, is regional specificity discernible in methods of preparation? I situated my question in the tension that exists between national government promoting a uniform national identity and then different regions of Indonesia maintaining diverse identities. Methods of preparation in my paper are the manipulative techniques used to arrive at an edible dish. I like to think of them as the processes needed to arrive at a final dish. And this is just an example of the way to skin a cassava. So that's what it says. So in order to begin answering my question, I looked at the methods of preparation of recipes within cookbooks. Scholars use cookbooks in two main ways. First is cultural artifacts, used to examine the circumstances and details of a culture, as well as the historical and ideological forces of a people. And second, as active sites of the production of complex belief systems and anxieties. Neither approach examines the methods of preparing a recipe, only the finished product. And so I felt like just examining a recipe was singular, but if I took apart a recipe and looked at the methods of preparation, it deepened the points where I could analyze a dish, and it illuminated issues and that would not only be understood by looking at just the recipe itself. And when I say recipe, I mean the title of the recipe. The methodology I used is that I used cookbooks as one element in my methodology, and then I extrapolated 3 regions from this group of cookbooks that I chose, and then I also identified 3 recipes that I felt were national, could stand in as national cuisine. Let's see. So what I'll first do is introduce the 3 regions that I studied, and then talk about cookbooks a little bit, and then the recipes that I chose. So the next slide is a map of Indonesia. It didn't come out very clearly, but on the far right in this circle is the region of Nusa Tenggara in eastern Indonesia. And I chose Nusa Tenggara because of my personal experience, the original story that I mentioned at the beginning of the talk, where I learned to shave a carrot cutting toward me instead of away from me. And then, let's see if I can do this. That is Java. And I chose Java because it is the most populous island in Indonesia and the center of political and economic power. But it also was there that my colleague pointed out the difference between shaving a carrot, cutting toward me or away from me. And then right here is the region of West Sumatra. And I chose Sumatra because West Sumatran cuisine is very popular in Indonesia and abroad, and it often stands in as Indonesia's national cuisine. So from a cross-section of cookbooks, or of books about Indonesian food and cooking, I selected books that met two criteria. One, having recipes that had a region associated with them. For example, West Sumatran meat satay in the title of the recipe, or I found that information, some recipes had descriptions before them, a little bit of introduction to that recipe, or they mentioned the region that recipe came from. And I also chose cookbooks that had detailed descriptions of preparation methods, because that's what I was looking at. I was left with a source set of cookbooks from the 1980s through the 2000s. And then another very important resource that I used was the Proyek Inventarisasi dan Pembinaan Nilai-Nilai Budaya, or the Inventory and Development of Cultural Values Project, which was a group of studies done by the Department of Education and Culture in Indonesia from 1982 to 1996, where they looked at very specifically the all the food practices and methods of preparation and different reasons why people eat different foods in 9 very, very distinct regions. These studies were published, and they were called Makanan, Wujud Variasi dan Fungsi serta Cara Penyajiannya pada Daerah-Daerah di Indonesia, or Food, Its Shape, Varieties, and Functions, with the method of serving in different regions of Indonesia. And then they situated this study in the, they situated the study in order to implement the Pancasila. So it was the studies were done in the effort to boost Indonesia's theoretical framework, the Pancasila, which national unity is one of the 5 pillars. So it was the Pancasila was adopted in 1949, introduced by Indonesia's first president, Sukarno, and it became the basis of Indonesia's national identity. So from the cookbooks and this series, I'll refer to it as IPNB, the acronym, I then looked at all these different recipes, trying to figure out what recipes I wanted to use, and I ended up with 3. Chose satay, which is, let's see, I chose satay, or ikan panggang, ikan bakar, which is grilled fish, and pepes, or palay, which is a bundled filling. That's how I translated it. I argue that these recipes are examples of the national cuisine of Indonesia by adopting scholar Michiko Kubo's definition of a national dish. In her definition, national dishes have lost local features and do not anymore reflect any particular ethnic group, and these dishes are popular throughout the country. So the 3 recipes here fit these criteria. Satay it resembles a kebab, and it's marinated meat that is skewered on a stick and grilled. In Indonesia, it is primarily a snack food, and it is often eaten by street vendors. I chose this recipe because I found it in all 3 regions, very often in all the cookbooks, and it is also a very common snack food. So that's another reason. Ikan panggang, ikan bakar, is fish grilled over charcoal, and it can be grilled dry or marinated or coated in a spice paste. Then the third recipe is pepes, bundled filling, and the contents can be meat, fish, vegetables, and the package usually is a banana leaf, but it can also, in like international kitchens, be aluminum foil. And let's see. It had really interesting multi-step preparation, so that was interesting to analyze. So once I had determined my regions, and then my cookbook, the set of cookbooks, and the IPNB project books, and then I chose 3 recipes, I just began to try to answer my question. So, to do this, I moved from choosing 3 recipes to breaking apart the methods of preparation of these recipes. I collected the methods of preparation of 3 recipes into spreadsheets, then categorized the similar recipes, first by name, and if not by name, then by the way the protein, for example, when I say protein, I'm talking about beef, chicken, fish, tofu, was prepared initially in the first step. Because not all recipes had the exact same name, but the way that the protein was prepared really really defined what that recipe was. From these groupings, I created preparation method categories from what was listed in the cookbooks and visualized these comparisons into several flow charts. I want to next show you an example of what my methodology looked like in a flow chart and explain how I came to the results that I got. But due to time constraints, I'm only going to show you the satay figure. So here it is. It's not terribly clear, I apologize. I'm not sure if I can everybody, is there like a...
Yeah, it's okay.
It's okay? Yeah. Oh, there.
That's perfect.
Okay. So, this is figure 1, preparation methods of satay. Using the methodology of examining the processes needed to arrive at a final dish, this diagram shows what I get from all the satay recipes I looked at. So it shows that there's many points where seemingly similar recipes, where the meat is cleaned, all the recipes begin, and they begin to branch off at different points. The boxes that you see are the preparation method, and the arrow lines moving between them help connect the methods of preparation. So it's kind of, let's see, the blue line is the recipes for Nusa Tenggara. Some of the recipes started at the meat being cleaned and then went straight to the meat being cut, marinated, skewered, and grilled. Other ones were served with a sambal, it's like a spice paste, and they were marinated in that before being grilled. The orange line is the recipes for Java. The green line is the recipes for West Sumatra, and then this gray line, General Indonesia, is satay recipes I looked at that were not assigned a specific region. I was curious if those showed any pattern, so that's why they're on this flow chart. Just to draw your eyes a little bit more specifically to one example, the green line here shows the preparation methods for satay daging, so that's the recipe from West Sumatra. The orange line shows those for satay sapi or satay domba, which is beef or sheep satay from Java. And then the blue line shows those for satay babi, or pork satay from Nusa Tenggara. So these 3 recipes are not identical in name, but the way the protein was prepared initially made them similar, and I thus compared them. All 3 recipes are meat satay that are cut into cubes, and that's how I decided that they could be compared. The recipe from West Sumatra, they pound the paste and then add a liquid. And then they boil the meat cubes. So they pre-cook the meat cubes and then they skewer the pre-cooked meat cubes before grilling. Whereas in the recipe for Java, the recipe instructs the cook to pound a spice paste, add it to the cubed meat without frying it. So they skip this fried, that goes straight down to marination. And then it is skewered and grilled. So it's not pre-cooked like the recipe from West Sumatra. Additionally, the recipe from Nusa Tenggara employs different methods to arrive at a comparable finished product. In this recipe, the recipe for meat satay, let's see, a spice paste is actually not used. It's just marinated in salt, and then so it's immediately skewered and then grilled. So this is just a basic example that shows what I mean, that there are multiple points of comparison between recipes that have the same or similar recipe outcomes. So it's just like a miniature version of this bigger one that I showed you. And then, oops, did I go too far? Okay. So I'm going to discuss my results. Using the methodology that I chose to answer the question, do preparation methods signify regional identification or regional specificity? I found that yes, indeed, the methodology gave me the ability to identify differences between recipes that seem identical. If considering the finished dish only, using the methodology to answer my research question, I found that no recipe demonstrated a unique method of preparation exclusive to a particular region. For example, in recipes for grilled fish, marinating a fish as opposed to dry rubbing the fish were not associated with only one region, but they were found in multiple regions. I also found that the national recipes examined in cookbooks about Indonesian food and cooking were not identical across regions. This is significant because the first result suggests methods of preparation of national recipes do not signify any kind of identification, and the nature of them being national dishes assumes they have lost all local features and are indistinguishable across regions. But I argue that the variation in methods of preparation employed to arrive at a similar finished product shows that methods of preparation do signify a type of identification, because different regions interpret the same national recipes in varying ways. And then there was limitations to my project. One is that my choice to combine preparation methods like pounding a spice paste with a mortar and pestle and making a spice paste in a blender, which achieve the same task of making a spice paste, are actually different ways to prepare spice paste. So in a future study, I might separate those methods out. Also, the cookbooks that my sources, as far as the cookbooks, presented some challenges. For example, naming the recipes that were in those books were at the discretion of that author, and it's possible that the names were lost in translation. I used both English and Indonesian language cookbooks. But even if it was an Indonesian writing the book, if they were writing about a different region, they could perceive that dish to be named something that the person from that region might not call it. So there's human error involved. And I relied a lot on those recipe names and the author's ability to accurately name the recipe. So I recognize that as a limitation. Also, the region that the recipe was associated with was at the discretion of the author. So regions are very large, and so while recipes could be labeled as coming from the same region, like Java, they could in fact be from very different regions depending on the interpretation, because cuisine in East Java and West Java is very different. The methodology, so I like to talk about my discussion and conclusion. The methodology of taking national recipes and breaking them apart into preparation methods in order to see regional identification. Reverse is the way we study a recipe, by taking foods that look the same and exhibiting how, upon closer analysis, they are actually prepared in quite different ways. The focus on methods of preparation can answer other questions, for example, about time saving and convenience, about taste and texture preference, or about cooking technologies and how they change over time. The answers to these questions help to deepen the dimension of analyses of food as an indicator of identity by looking at more than just the finished product of the recipe. By examining the many aspects of the making of a recipe, we can begin to uncover many more points of analysis of food and what it communicates about personal and group identity. The methodology for food studies, this methodology for food studies is inspiring in the potential ways it could change how scholars examine food and identity. Thank you.
We'll have a discussion for 10 or 15 minutes if you have questions.
Yeah.
Or
So some references and then
Yeah.
questions. Please, I would love to answer any questions.
You want to put your reference list back up? That'd be great, thanks.
Oh, wow.
Your advisor is at Brigham Young?
He was on my committee. My advisor was at University of Utah, Hugh Cagle. Yeah.
So but there's a strong connection there with
There-
Indonesia?
Yeah, actually, so there's not an Indonesian scholar at Utah. And so Ralph Brown of BYU, Brigham Young, he's an Indonesian sociologist. And so he was really helpful to serve on my committee. Yeah. There's a lot of exchange between those two universities. Yeah.
Do you have any questions?
Silakan. Yeah. Since you mentioned about its kind of food and national identity, what do you think about the authentic food, for example? Is there any authentic food? Since now, actually I want to prepare myself how to, like Malaysia claim the rendang is their national. And it's, since I came from West Sumatra, so I know the rendang is it's from
Minangkabau.
yeah. So what do you think about that? That first question. And I think there is an interesting one about the satay one. If I want to contribute, actually there's very different between the satay in West Sumatra and satay in Java, and especially because you
I can go back.
yeah, you can go back. In the south, actually, it's very different. When you show the West Sumatra satay, but the satay enter. Sorry, this one actually, because here
Yeah.
is not for West Sumatra sauce, for example. So yeah, that's only my concern about. And most of Javanese people, they don't like Padang satay, the West Sumatra. I like it, of course. Yeah. You don't like, right?
I like it.
Oh, you okay? No, okay. No, my theory is better.
Because he's studying in US.
Oh yeah. So that's. But my question is about the authentic food. What do you
Yeah.
think about that?
You know,
Is there any
I-
authentic food? Do you think, or
I think that national cuisine, if we're talking about authentic food as a national cuisine, it's a manufactured idea in order to promote national identity. And so, I mean, I guess, I don't know how to answer that question really. I mean, that's a big question in food studies.
yeah.
Like, but national cuisine definitely has a purpose, an agenda. There's power behind it. It's not just a like benign thing, you know. So that's why you feel like when rendang is being claimed by Malaysia, like a little bit offended.
No. For myself, it's actually I become more open because there is no authentic, like kind of like music. Everything is hybrid.
Yeah.
But surely just as there are languages that, remain used in some of those islands of Indonesia, there must also be dishes that are very closely associated with just that one specific island.
I think the area like we can find meat everywhere, the coconut and everything.
Yeah, the ingredients, that was, I originally also looked at ingredients because preparation methods are strongly connected to what ingredients are available in that climate and in that region. But so while there might not be authentic food if everyone is able to grow coconut and have coconut, I do think authenticity may exist, thank you, in the way that food is prepared. Because of the example of the shaving of the carrot toward instead of away is able to be identified as coming from a different region.
Does it change the flavor of the carrot? I'm sure there would be people who would say, "Oh yeah, you can't do that because."
That's why I think from the Indonesian perspective, I think that we kind of I cannot generalize, kind of not pay attention to the how to prepare and like the hygiene.
And killing something.
I mean kebersihan,
Yeah,
about
the hygiene.
kebersihan, the hygiene, preparation actually about the hygiene.
Cleanliness.
Like if you peel like this or peel like that, because like it's about we don't never care.
Or does it mean anything to different kinds of people, different regions? Like when you mentioned, it's very interesting when you mentioned the carrot, like how you shave the carrot, whether it is toward you or away from you. Does it mean anything to?
I don't know. I sought out to find that out, but
I don't even realize.
but I wasn't able to answer that at that level of detail. My sources didn't allow for that level of detail. Yeah. So, thank you for your questions.
But if I can add one information like the preparation of West Sumatra, I think they always use a banana leaf. So can you go back to your picture about the satay?
Really?
Yeah. I mean the satay Padang. No, if you go to restaurant, see the satay. If you go to Padang restaurant in Jakarta at least, and in Padang of course.
Is there banana leaf on the satay
Yes.
there? Or?
Just a glass plate.
That's why. I mean the unique actually they always Padang.
They serve it on a banana.
Yes.
It has
Before
the flavor and the smell.
Yeah.
Something like
So
that.
that's like the way that it's served.
Yeah,
And the
and then
studies.
they have the plastic, kind of like plastic.
Boat.
Paper.
Yeah.
It just changed.
Yeah. So that's another element that
Yeah.
could have.
I mean that's only.
That and those books, like if anyone's ever interested in studying those books, they're really interesting. The ones from the Department of Education and Culture, and they have like different sections, and one of them is the way it is served, and it talks about the way food is served, the details.
Because at the end, West Sumatra people they eat with.
Like how you.
No. I mean like.
Indonesian people eat with their hand everywhere.
No, especially West Sumatra.
Everybody. Their hand.
It's from here to here.
Yeah, right.
Actually, yes. Always the hand.
Not satay, of course. Not
Change the
satay.
taste too.
It's kind of interesting
Yes,
study.
yeah.
I mean like.
And you also mentioned that one, the lust. What is it?
Pepes?
Yeah, and you mentioned banana leaves, and then some people also they in modern, they use the aluminum.
Yeah, aluminum foil, and that's very different in result because
Yeah.
the banana leaf lends a flavor and a smell that you don't get.
No good. Aluminum foil, no good.
Yeah. Silakan.
I was just wondering,
This one. Where's
In
Sumatra?
addition to your, I haven't done anything. Just curious. In addition to your, study using the cookbook from the department, did you also get a chance to observe how this preparation is actually carried out in a way?
Yes, but not during the time period of this project.
Oh, okay.
I learned how to cook in Indonesia, but it was 8 years ago. So this project was done over from 2010 to 2013, and I was in Indonesia in 2007. So,
Because I remember, I think you displayed an example how to peel a coconut. No, cassava,
yeah.
and that. What is it called? Like the way you write. I mean the convention. It comes from like 1970.
Oh yeah, it's an old.
Oh, the way it's
spelling.
written. Yeah, it is. This is from a
So I
very
was
old
wondering-
cookbook.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So this is just from well, it's not from the cookbook. It's from the Department of Culture, like from the research study, and those were done from 1982 to 1996. So
Because we don't
they
write
use
that
the
way
old
anymore.
spelling. Yeah.
That's like Dutch.
Chara,
TJ.
TJ. It's from
Dutch
the
convention or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Like Jakarta used to be
D and
DJ,
J.
DJ.
Yeah.
It's not Baku. Baku?
I don't
Not
know
Baku.
about it.
Dr. Nyamai, is there any more questions?
Was that just your question?
Yeah, I was
Okay.
just if that is part of your inquiry, you just don't study, the textbook, also observe.
I think that I was able to really understand, like sometimes recipes are flat, like they're on a
Yeah,
paper,
I was
and
wondering,
to
is it
visualize
part
it
of
in
it?
your head
Very
is like
Yeah,
difficult.
yeah.
A lot of people struggle with the actual carrying out a recipe, and so my knowledge of that made them really come to life and able to be analyzed. Yeah. Silakan. Do you have a question?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, you made me want to.
A doctor is only interested in eating.
There's a cooking demonstration first, so just a little more time.
Okay, okay.
Cooking demonstration?
Cooking
Really?
demonstration?
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Now we didn't use Okay, so today we chose, and I wanted to also again thank Adrian, thank you so much, and Yanti and Nugi, very much for all your help in not only like just this, but just the planning of it. And I want to thank Arif and Digna for helping to prepare the food today.
Ooh, Arif.
The chef. Chef.
He prepared all the beautifully cut fruits. So get into that. Okay. So we decided to prepare rujak
Hold on, no, wait.
because it doesn't have to be cooked, and it's like an Indonesian salad equivalent. You eat fresh fruit and vegetables dipped in a spicy peanut sauce, spicy and sour peanut sauce. It's called rujak, and the ingredients we have up here. So there is chili, pronounced chabe, and then there is also garam, which is salt. We have asam, which is tamarind, and is everyone familiar with what tamarind is? It's a pod that grows on trees in tropical areas that is the texture of a fruit roll-up. And then there's terasi, which is shrimp paste. If any of you are brave to smell, it's a nice smell, but it's strong. It's strong, and it gives it. In Indonesia, there is a flavor called gurih, which doesn't exist in American cuisine, and it translates to savory, and it's like there's salty, sour, sweet taste buds, but gurih is an extra one from Indonesia. Peanuts, kacang. And also we have gula merah, which is palm sugar, and we're going to use some water, which in Indonesian is pronounced air. So let's see. This is a cobek ulek. It's a mortar and pestle, and it's made from lava stone. And in Indonesia, it is used in preparing almost every dish, the spice paste or the salsa, the dipping sauce that you eat with dishes, and it is in some, like in Thailand, the mortar and pestle is deep and they pound, but in Indonesia it's a rocking motion, a rubbing into the lava stone. So here's one out of lava, and this one's also out of coconut, just to show you two examples. So I'm going to show you how to make rujak, but I also wanted to show you what we will be eating the sauce with. Here's yellow papaya. This is jicama. It's called bengkoang.
Yes,
Bengkoang. And that is very typical, eaten with rujak. These are mangoes. They're a little bit too done. Usually you eat rujak with unripened mango. And then here's pineapple. And in Indonesia, pineapple is cut in a really unique way. So if we have time, I'd also like to show you how it's cut. But can everybody see, like here, 5BN, can you see as well? All right. So we're going to add some chili. And also, so it can get slippery, and salt creates a nice,
that's what my mom used to say.
friction. Thank you. Yeah?
That's what my mom used to say.
So,
Salt.
It's so skillful.
Slippery.
Yeah.
so it's a rocking motion that comes from the shoulder. If you do it too much from the wrist or the elbow, you'll get tired way too quickly.
Yeah.
So,
A very good working out.
yeah.
Exercise.
So, and you can pull back the ingredients as they move out. You can pull back the ingredients with your pestle. And then the next thing we will add is tamarind. And we can just add a little bit. And tamarind usually is served in this block. You can buy it from the store. And it has seeds and like fibrous pieces in it that you can just mix in. You don't have to worry about taking them out. Like when you eat, you can just, if you get a seed, you can just trash it. And then we can add, how about so the order in which you add things also is really important, but I don't know the order very much for rujak, so hopefully I'm not destroying the taste. Rujak is not very, very smooth, so it's nice to leave the peanuts with more texture than just like smooth sort of flavor. Here is palm sugar. Often what we are working on is not stable, so in Indonesia sometimes we like to work on the floor. Very authentic. That's very authentic. So I'm just getting some.
Authentic.
That is authentic.
The gesture.
And then we were being kicked out from the apartment because of that, remember?
I would have to say yes. And then
The people downstairs complaining. What are you doing up there?
oh, good. So this is really dry. So
Oh, you add water? Or the tamarind?
Yeah.
Tamarind with water?
yeah. So actually, Digna taught me something new today, which is adding a bit of fruit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Or-
It's juicy.
Yeah, because fruit is juicy. Instead of just water, and I think it's a great idea to keep the flavor nice and. Very good. I'll continue later. Sorry if I make a mess.
In Aceh, they eat very green fruit. So when you eat it, it's like your mouth just puckers up. It dries your mouth out.
I cannot do that.
Ah!
Oh well,
I lost I used cucumber in the one
They
that.
will clean it up.
maybe the
I
mice,
use no
mice
water
will
with
come.
tamarind.
Does anybody have a dog that could come and eat the scraps?
She's gonna have a mouse.
We will also
Yeah,
use
yeah.
water with tamarind, but this is also to just give it some extra flavor. And so this is the same tamarind here that we just put with hot water, and it can help to create a more liquid texture, which is what you want with the rujak, so you can dip things in it. So I'm getting my time tiring myself out here. So I'm going to pretend like I'm on a cooking show.
Wave your hand and it's done.
Yeah, wave your hand. Everyone close your eyes. Oh, okay. So that is the end of the cooking demonstration. Is there any questions?
What, can you name those fruit that are up there? I know the one
Sure,
is the
this
wedding,
is
wedding bell
guava
fruit.
or starfruit?
This is starfruit. This is water apple.
Jambu air.
Jambu air, jambu air, jambu air.
Jambu air.
It's wonderful.
Oh yeah.
I don't think it would travel to the U.S. It's
No,
just so fragile.
never seen that one.
Here's some mango, overdone though for rujak. Cucumber, pineapple, and then that's the same.
Jambu air.
Yeah. And then this is just, I wanted to show because there's many ways to eat rujak. So this one you dip in individual pieces. This one it's served and you eat it with a stick. And it's just covered in the fruit. So
Sometimes maybe you add ice cubes that you know, you want to, yeah.
interesting.
Or ice cream. Even.
Oh yeah.
That's your creation.
This is new, I never heard of this.
Lebay.
This is the modern style.
Okay, it's preference too.
Ini questionable.
You can put everything.
Right, doctor?
So thank you everybody so much for coming.
No,
And I hope you enjoyed the
Thank you.
food.
now the testing, right? Testing.
So the tasting is not only rujak, but there's also klepon. And
What
it
is
is
popcorn? You have to explain.
Yeah, I mean, that's ready.
yeah,
Ready.
it's like a,
Oh,
it's
I
like
knew
a
I could smell something. I
rice
didn't know what was over
dessert
here.
filled with
So,
this
okay,
palm
then we
sugar.
can.
So what is this? It's a rice flour dessert filled with palm
Sure.
sugar and coated in coconut skin,
Oh, I
shaved
know.
coconut.
I
And
know
then
that.
I think
I
there's
know
also
that.
someone
It
brought
always
lemper.
shoots out.
Lemper.
Shoots out.
Okay.
And there's fried
Yeah,
tofu
you
as
can
well.
try.
So and just give us a minute with this. We have to prepare one more thing.
Telepon. Telepon. Telepon.
I'm ready.